everybody, this is the Drop the Beat podcast. My name is Charles Laurita.
And I'm Will Sarver.
And we want to thank you guys for listening to us beat off as you listen to us every single week. Will, we've been beating it for quite some time now. You getting tired?
I'm getting sore, I'm going to be honest with you.
I'm a little dehydrated. Also, my vision is drastically changed. But other than that,
Are you
it's
going
pretty
blind?
good. I don't know. I don't know if I'm looking at you or if this is... Oh, this is a microwave. Never mind. I'm sorry. I can't find you.
Just listen to the sound of my voice.
I'm trying to, and it's great. And I just wanted you more so to listen to this. So for those of you listening at home to this quality content that we've started already, I bought a little diner bell at the local Dollar Tree near us, and I plan to use it in some recordings for videos because it is a completely necessary percussion instrument.
Everybody needs one.
Everybody needs a diner bell. They have so many uses. You can hit it and go, check, please. And that's hilarious because you can do that anywhere. A church, a funeral, in court, the IRS office, anywhere.
It makes
it funny.
For every scenario.
Yes, I agree. You know, you get pulled over and just hit that little bastard and you'll probably go to prison. Anyway, Will, we have a question this week. Someone wrote in.
So people write in to the show.
They do. Not in a hard copy format, but more so electronically. And if they were to write in to us, they could go to charleslaurita.com/contact, and they can fill out the form with their name, where the hell they're from, and then their little question for our topic to discuss in a long format about music and the music industry and the like.
Really?
And we have one this week. Someone did that. Someone cared. And the best part about it is if we pick their question, which I wanted to pick this one because I thought it was great. We're going to give the writer of this question a free shirt. A free Mischief shirt we're going to send them because they wrote into us and it made us happy and we have something to talk about, thus keeping our podcast going.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I'm
this
super
whole time
psyched.
I thought you and I were just talking about whatever, but this question thing really takes it to another level.
Well, sometimes I'm actually worried that you don't even know that it's me you're talking to. I don't know. Do you have your fly-ass glasses? Where did they go? What the hell? You had those on for one time.
They're in another room, and I'm kind of trapped and surrounded by my own drums. And I haven't left the room in weeks. So,
well, what probably happened was they're see-through plastic glasses. They're probably just you lost them. They're just on the floor and they just disappeared.
That's a good point.
Like, come on, those things are gone.
Yeah.
You haven't seen those since last 2 times ago.
They're probably still in my head or something.
You probably have them on. We just can't even tell. Oh my God. What an absolute mess. I am so intrigued. Anyway, so our question this week comes from Angela from Queens, from New York.
Whoa.
I probably shouldn't even have said that because say New York because they probably get that all the time. That's terrible. Angela, I meant nothing hostile by that. I'm from New Jersey, so people say that and it's not great. But we have our New York and our New Jersey and our Pennsylvania where the water is water, and that's a very important thing.
Yep, exactly.
It is what it is. But she writes in, I teach music at a community college. So she is a professor. We're talking professor right now.
Ooh.
Yeah. So Angela goes, I teach music at a community college, and I'm always stressing to my students the importance of practicing and rehearsing regardless of instrument. I have an increasing number of up-and-coming musicians every year who I mentor that seem like they require less and less practice time to be proficient. We've all heard how important it is to constantly practice to succeed, but is practicing regularly truly necessary on your way to becoming a professional musician? Loving the show, guys. Keep up the great work. Well, Angela, that was first off, that little sentence at the end was lovely. So thank you kindly. That means a whole lot. You just got so many more brownie points.
Yes.
So I think with that shirt, we're going to be sending you. We'll be sending some brownie points in a separate envelope, which I think will be nice. I don't know what the exchange rate is from New Jersey to New York, but I'll try my damnedest.
It's hefty.
But that's a great. I'd imagine so. That's an awesome question. So how she's kind of wording this, and Angela, I apologize if it's not exactly what you're going to do, but she said it seems like what everything is kind of looking like is, kids require less and less practice every year to be just better players. We have the people who are always naturals, but then you have that kind of a thing where it's like, okay, now it's just a larger group don't require as much practice, and then a larger group still. And it's almost like it's becoming second nature to a lot of up and coming players. That's impressive. So I mean, let's throw this bitch back right quick. When you were up and coming, William, with
the good old days,
with learning and practicing your craft and stuff, did you ever think of yourself as a natural, or did it come naturally to you? And then the part 2 of that would be, did you realizing that you being a natural, because I kind of already know the answer to this, I'm just asking for everyone else's enjoyment and entertainment.
That's right.
You being a natural, I know. Did you being a natural affect how you practiced, because you kind of were like, well, I'm pretty good, Go ahead, discuss what you discuss.
I talked exactly like that.
I know you did.
Yeah. So yes, for me, part 1 of this question is yes, I would put myself in the natural category. It came naturally to me. Shocking. So yeah, it wasn't something that I really had to work hard at in the beginning. It was just something that I kind of just picked up. It was, I may have mentioned before on here, but, my dad played, so the drums were around the house. So it was kind of one of those things that I just gravitated towards. And, it really just came to me. And I was able to, to play drums, I would think pretty decently for my age. But
which is great, obviously, for age, because I know you started so damn young, and that's such a big thing, especially drums and percussion in general. And I think a lot of people, the misconception is, okay, so drums are easy because you hit shit. And that's also why a lot of kids want to play, is because you just hit stuff.
That's my job description.
It's like, I can beat the hell out of it. Yeah, I hit things.
I hit things with wood.
So you're a baseball player.
Exactly.
No, so yeah. So that's also just a crazy thing in general too, because natural musicians at a young age, it's usually always something like a piano or the guitar or something like that. But when it's a drums, you have multiple things you're focusing on. That is very impressive to be a natural, that kind of thing. I was the same way with that, where I was, I was an artsy-fartsy kid. I wasn't into sports or anything like that. So it was always, I didn't find my niche until I really started doing music. I mean, like I was, I do art and stuff like that, and we knew that I was, I guess, proficient and ahead of the game in that. But then when I got to music, it was like, okay, this is just second nature. And I think the whole thing is, it's like we always say, it's a language. So it's kind of like you could speak it and pick it up very, very well. And I think that's like incredibly, incredibly important. And that did, affect how I ultimately practiced, because I would, it got me into a little trouble in that area, quite frankly. But
I would agree with the same thing. I think you kind of get that thought or mentality that, practicing is really not needed because it comes to you naturally. So why would you spend the extra time and pain and agony trying to practice when you already have most or some of the skills available to you? But I don't think, it's definitely more so at the younger age. I don't know about for you. Well, I kind of know. It's a similar story. It's, you're young and, you really don't think about it. But, there was a lot of times where I mostly didn't practice, but I was good enough and had good enough ears to where my instructor would think that I practiced.
That's exactly what I did, because I wanted to work on my own stuff. I didn't want to do the book stuff. I wanted to do the fun stuff for me. I wanted to do, working on songs, developing my ear. Not that I realized I was developing my ear, but that's essentially what I was doing, where I'm listening to things and figuring out as I was going. And I didn't want to do the reading stuff and the books. I had the Hal Leonard books and the Mel Bay books and all that crap, and I did not want to do it. I know. I saw you gag when I said that. Yeah, I know.
Well, I think it's allergies.
But that it did get me in trouble because I really my practice time went down because I thought I was so good, and then over time I started to get sloppy. And that was a big deal. And the thing I kind of got from it, and it kind of was like it hit me hard one day. It was a rude awakening, as they say, in the mattress business. It was really, really tough because... Sorry, that was stupid. That was a stupid joke.
I was trying,
you get a bell on that.
Yeah, a bell.
I saw your face.
I was trying to hold that in. That was bad.
'Twas a rude awakening, as they say, in the euthanasia business.
Ring the bell again.
No, okay, I'll give it another.
It's a bad joke bell now.
That was that was just a dark joke, and it wasn't great. I started to realize I was like, oh man, I am not as good as I was, and I'm kind of like regressing. Like I just thought I was better than I was, and that's honestly what it was with that. And I came to figure out, no matter how good you are, how great you think, or however many times you've gone over something, or how many times with a band you've rehearsed something, the one thing I always stress is you can always just give it a once over just to make sure you got it okay. It's not going to hurt you to play it one more time. You and we know from experience, having, musicians we've worked with in the past, where it's like, well, why do I have to come to practice tonight? We're just going to do the same songs.
That's my favorite.
It's like, because you want to chap my ass a little harder on that, because I'm going to need some Vaseline because it is that chapped.
Nobody wants it chapped.
No, nobody does. I don't.
I don't.
No, I don't look forward to that at all. So don't be bringing that nonsense in my church kimosabe. You feel me?
Right.
Like God. And we've gotten that a whole lot of times, and that makes or breaks it, honestly, with people we're working with. It's like, well, we already do. We're just doing the same thing this week, so what do I need to be there for? And I'm like, dude, that's the absolute worst thing you could honestly ever do. It's just a toxic attitude, and that kind of falls into what we were talking about last week with cockiness and egotistical kind of outlook on it. But yeah, I was not a huge fan of that kind of thing. But I do think there also is something as over practicing, and you and I know some people like that where they're at this point kind of nitpicking. I mean, I'm very hard on myself, and I have a very perfectionist kind of nature. Perfectionism runs deep. I know with both of us. I know you're like how I am with that. That's tough. But then it does get to a point where it's too extreme. To the point where it's like you're analyzing every little note, every little thing. And I have worked with someone in a studio setting like that, recording where it's got to punch in this note, got to punch in that, got to fix this, got to articulate that, and you're just now trying to compete with yourself as opposed to just practicing, and you're making things difficult for difficult's sake, just to challenge yourself. And then when you mess up, you don't think you're good, and then you have to over practice again. Oh boy! Now, do you think that? That idea, it's too much practice, and do you think that could be toxic?
Yeah, I think it's extremely toxic. I mean, I feel like there was an individual that we worked with that, I mean, he went through whether it was legit or not, I don't know, but he went through his, practice regimen, and we're like, how, do you sleep? It was like, and I'm in, 12,000 bands, and I practice, 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
But, at that point, it's hard to explain.
I
But
can see the frustration. No, I'm right there.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're going to say, but you're going to say it more eloquently than I ever would.
Yeah, no. I mean, you're too kind. But it's kind of similar, and like in a studio setting, it's like, especially, you're super familiar with, but like if you're, editing and mixing and things like that, like you get to a certain point where you're done. You got to give your ears a break. You got to take a break mentally. You're not getting anywhere. You're not improving.
Yeah.
And it's
at some point, you have to just say it's finished. put it out there. There's nothing more I can do. I'm nitpicking at this point. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
you're not. I think you're doing. It's kind of like weight training. There's a certain threshold. If you go past that with with exercising and things like that, you're actually causing more damage than good. And it's the same thing I find, in my opinion, with practicing.
That's a great way to put that, man. That's a good kind of analogy. I like that.
Yeah, overtraining is a thing in the fitness community. It's legit, and I think it is in the practicing community at least for music. But you just have to know your limits, and you got to take some breaks sometimes. And I know people get in the practicing rut, and it can get boring, but you shouldn't make it boring. People ask me all the time, "Oh, you must practice with a metronome." No, I don't.
Blech.
I don't like metronomes. It's like,
no.
Well, your timing is really good. Yeah, but I don't want to have that annoying click, beep, cowbell, whatever it is in my head, for an hour. It's not enjoyable. So, but
granted, I mean, I agree, and my thing is, metronomes aren't necessarily a bad thing, but you can't hold it as gospel where people are like, you have to, and the metronome, and I'm like, it does get to a point where it's very robotic. It lacks human feel. It's not going to pulse like a human being playing it, and it will discourage you. It's not a bad thing to do. Obviously, I play to click tracks for recording. I play to metronomes for anything I'm working on myself. But you can't act as though it's the do-all, end-all, and if you don't use one, you're not a superb musician, because that is not accurate at all in that regard. And it's very hard to break people of that mentality who have been classically trained or professionally trained or anything like that. It's tough. And I'm not saying metronomes are bad. Just don't rely on them as if it's air you breathe, because goddamn.
No. And, honestly, I do use a metronome. It's called a record.
My man, right there.
It's not that I don't use a metronome. It's I listen to records and albums and tracks, and I play along with them. That's a metronome in a different form. I think you get way more out of that. And it's enjoyable. I'm going to keep going back to that because, it's just it's a chronic thing of people, not enjoying practicing, but you have to make it enjoyable for yourself. And I love playing along to some of my favorite songs or something new.
See, that's great. I love that.
So, I mean, what do you think? What's your practice regimen look like on a daily basis?
I agree completely with what you said with listening to records and playing, because listening is practicing. A lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people are saying, how'd your timing get so good? And it's like, it's because I play and I do it and I get better and I'm listening to positive example like that. I tell my students all the time, I'm like, don't ever look at practicing as homework. Look at practicing as you're just playing songs. You're just playing music. It's literally you're playing music and you're listening to music. That's what practicing is. It's not, I got to do 40 math problems and that's my practice. It's like, no, you're playing an instrument, dude. It's the same as doing anything else for an extended amount of time. You're just playing an instrument. That's all it is, and that's not a bad thing. So for me, I practice every day, whether I realize it or not. Whether I sit down at the piano for a half hour and play and sing, or if I'm teaching my students and I'm playing bass along with someone playing guitar, or if I sit down at the drums and I'm kind of working out some stuff that I'm, eventually going to show you and you'll laugh at me for playing, something like that. It's you're practicing regardless. Anything you do musically, you're practicing. It's just like a language. Anytime you speak it to communicate, that's practice. That's why people get bigger vocabularies. That's why people feel more comfortable speaking, and that's why you can enunciate and you're more literate, or you're more literate and you lack the illiteracy. There we go. Wow, I tried to sound smart and it just kind of shot me in the foot. We go.
I can't even
check, please.
Spell those words. Don't worry.
That's okay. There's the $5 words are good, but it's one of those things where it's like practice doesn't have to be the standard definition of practice. It doesn't have to be you sitting down in a room with perfect posture at a beautifully ornate music stand with a powder wig in a library observatory. It doesn't have to be that. And that's really hard to break people of that kind of idea, where it's practice doesn't have to be this predetermined, Wonder Bread, the whitest possible thing in the world. I mean, honestly, it doesn't have to be. Yeah. So my practice really varies like that. I mean, it's just you pick it up and you play. And that is always going to practice. Now, granted, if you're trying to learn something, yeah, you should practice what you're trying to learn, where it's like, oh, man, I need to learn this drum part for I'm recording, so I'm going to work on the piano for a couple hours today. That obviously is a little counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But like I do it all the time for when we have gigs or when we have to record. I mean, God, I'm always running through what I'm doing, but I'm never looking at it as like, oh, this is a task. I stop looking at it as this is my job, and I look at it as this is my goal, and I'm a lot more comfortable with it, where it's like, oh, I'm trying to get to this goal. I mean, that's how video games are. Look how forgiving a lot of video games are. Like, I talk to my students about that who play whatever, and they get these ungodly high scores. I'm like, how'd you get there? Did you do it in your first shot? And they're like, no. And like, how many tries did it take you? Like 100? And it's like, that's practicing. You were practicing to do that.
It's a good point.
And you wanted a non-tangible reward at the end. That's what it was. Where it's like, I always say, man, if kids like today grew up on the Mario games that I grew up on, they would have quit immediately because they were very unforgiving. And you got a screen at the end that said, congratulations, you did it, But it was just getting to that goal, getting that satisfaction of it. But now it's satisfaction in the real tangible world, and now it's a song, and you can do that forever and ever and ever and ever, and something like that. And obviously, it's people like it's not the destination, it's the journey. That's why Zelda games are great, because it's you getting there and then you beat him. It's like, well, I'm done now. But it was everything getting to that point. Music's the same way. But in this case, when you get to the destination, you can keep going back to it. That's the coolest part. Like with songs and things like that, or anything like, it's like I wrote a song, I was very proud of it, and now we've played this song probably 150 million times live, and we're still going back to it, and things like that. I just try to look at it in a more positive, optimistic light like that, and it doesn't feel like practicing.
I like
it just
that
feels
a
like
lot.
just playing. Dude, I like to get through to some of my students and stuff like that. It's like, especially you have a lot of young kids where it's like all they do is Minecraft or Fortnite, and I'm like, well, how did you get that good? You did it over and over and over and over.
Repetition.
That's practice, baby. That's all it is.
Well, let me ask you something here.
Go ahead. I'm listening, William.
So you write songs, and
I've been known to.
Right. So you write songs. You write the songs for the band. So you're very familiar with them, and you've probably played them 1,000 times. Now, why would someone still go through them and practice them, even though you've done that? You've wrote them, and you're still running through them, even though you've played it 1,000 times. Why?
Well, let's take what's going on in the world right now as a good example. We're not gigging. We haven't gigged, oh boy, for quite some time with this quarantine going on and stuff like that. We haven't even practiced as a group in quite some time.
No, sir.
March, April, May, June, July, now it's August. That's, we're just starting our 6th month. That kind of a thing. And it's like, well, we have X amount of songs as a band and X amount of songs that exist in the real world. One of those X's is much greater than the other. So it's kind of like, well, I'm not obviously playing every one of those every day, and we need to rehearse it to stay sharp, because it's been quite some time since we've done it. And it's not just me, myself, knowing my part, but it's us knowing our part as a group. And that's where it's really, really, really important. And that's a perfect segue to kind of get to the next point, rehearsing as a group. That's why it's important. And when we would always have people who would be like, well, we're just going to do the same thing. I already know my parts. It's like, yes,
there's that guy.
You do know your part. You do know your part. And I'm not doubting you know your part. But it's us as a group. The band is a machine, a very well lubricated machine. I've really just wanted to say lubricated today in our podcast.
That got me to smile.
That one. Did I saw.
I love this, Bill.
I know. This is people are probably just like shutting this off halfway. They're like, oh my God, this fucking bell. And I am just going to just give you another one, baby. But any good band is a well lubed machine, a well oiled machine. Everyone, every part working together. Your face. I am so sorry. For those of you listening at home, it's very difficult for us to have any kind of an innuendo because we're usually smirking on one side or the other of this camera. So it is really, we're very professional. For God's sakes, it's called the Drop the Beat podcast, and our big intro is literally just a masturbation innuendo. We are just masters. We're masters of the craft at this point. But I digress from anything about peepees. But yeah, that's I think a very selfish kind of thing to just think of only yourself knowing something as opposed to the whole group. Not saying that people and other people in the group don't know their parts, but it's everyone as a whole. That's what we're here for. Obviously, I know everyone in the group is a proficient player and they know their shit. But it's just everyone working together, and we haven't done it in a while. So you kind of have to. You got to stay sharp. I mean, bridging off of that and to throw the bocce ball back into your court, what? No, you don't catch it. You just let it kind of hit, and then it touches the other ball. So maybe our balls will touch.
Again.
What would you think? What would you think about groups, or any kind of group? I hate this fucking bell. I love it, man. It's great. Any kind of group with a weak link, whether it's someone who refuses to come to practice, which we've had, or anything in that kind of regard, where it's someone who thinks they're too good for it, when that kind of goes back into the cockiness thing we talked about in the previous episode, or someone who just doesn't practice at all and doesn't bring their A game. They bring their D game to a rehearsal. Like what are your thoughts on that? I mean, because now this is me asking someone who's literally always perpetually prepared to the nines.
Oh God, and I never feel like I am prepared, but
I mean, you are crossing them T's and dotting those lowercase J's, and you are just always just ready to go with that kind of thing. So it's like, but to have a missing link in a band and someone who doesn't practice, I mean, what kind of a toll does that really bring on everything? Because it's not great.
Well, step number 1, can them. Give them the axe. Give them the boot. However you want to say it. No, I'm just kidding. But
they're dead to you.
Yeah, it is all too real, and it does happen. But like you mentioned, that's the point of a group rehearsal. And
Yeah.
I've played with individuals, and so have you, where they really are overconfident and they think that they have their part together. And it wasn't necessary for them to come to last week's rehearsal. Now we're coming up to the gig on the weekend. Mm-hmm. And it's a good crowd, good night.
Let's paint. I say paint the picture. Let's get a little detail in this picture. So it's a Saturday night. There's maybe 300-400 people shoulder to shoulder in this place.
Right. And yes. So now we have the image. And now let's say we're going to go a week before, and we're going to get that text. And that text, it's going to say, can't make rehearsal. I have a dentist, doctor's appointment all on the same day. Also, my
house is for sale.
There's no gas in my car. I'll check back with you later.
Oh no! The actual quote went, and this was real for everyone listening at home. We said someone said, "I can't make it to practice. My car doesn't have any gas in it. I'll let you know if anything changes." So we were just assuming this guy is walking up to his car, opening the gas cap and looking in, waiting for gas to appear. That is the absolute work of an artist. I love that. It was so perfect. Good God. But yeah, so we so let's also say he's not coming to a rehearsal, and this said person really only wants to be in the band to kind of solo and stroke themselves off and kind of in front of a big audience, and not necessarily be familiar with the music itself that we're playing as a group. They just want the solo part, because let's be real, they're not listening to what everyone else is playing. No. They're blaring their own thing. They're passing entrances. They're missing repeats. They're all that kind of stuff. Continue. I just wanted to further just detail that.
Yeah, no, that
scenario.
Is perfect. Yes. So, where we're at with the the text message, not coming to rehearsal. We have a really great opportunity that we've all worked so hard for. Emailed 1,000 people when we finally get a response. We got the gig lined up.
Or you could say, or it's the well, not classic, but it's the infuriating classic where it's, I don't know, I'm taking a hike. I'll let you know if I'm back in time for a gig that we've had for 2 months. That's one of my favorites.
Yes.
That's a good one. We could do a whole episode on that. Good Lord.
Yeah, that'll be next week's. But yeah, so, and we, the individual does not show up to rehearsal, so it is gig time. It is show time. And, first song, we, starts off as a banger. And then said individual misses transition. And now at this point...
Classic.
My blood is boiling. I am contemplating throwing a drumstick across the stage.
Yeah, you have projectile weapons. That's dangerous. They should have taken that into account.
Exactly. And... so this is going to go on for almost every song. There's a missed intro, wrong note. I love that one.
We all have a stop, and they keep playing through it. That's my favorite.
That's classic. So for you listening, now that we painted that lovely picture, that is why group rehearsals and rehearsing and practicing and making sure everyone's on the same page is crucial. Because even though this individual thought they had it all together, they just bombed. And it is really infuriating for all of us who show up to rehearsal and practice, and we kill it at the show, but all it takes is for one person to derail the train. And
yeah,
I mean, that happens a lot, and I don't understand. I really don't. And I mean, what do you think, how is it from your perspective, because you're a band leader, group leader? I'm just a monkey behind a drum, beating things with wood, large pieces of wood.
Well, I'm the monkey up front with the sunglasses on, whose name is also on the band, and we pride ourselves by being a group of the best of the best of the best. So while I'm up there playing my guitar, holding a banana in my monkey foot and peeling it with the other, it's I'm going to be real. When we have, and these people who were unprepared like that, they're no longer in the band, because I give ultimatums where I'm like, you show up to practice or you don't come to the gig, because no one is ever good enough to miss a practice because of whatever reason. Now, honestly, if there's a death in the family or you're ill, that's fine. But if it's, I already know the material, I already know it. It's like, yeah, you do. But do you know it with everyone? Because when you play in a live setting, it's a lot different than you jerking it in your room, or whatever you're doing. I don't know if that considered practice, but, and now it's, when people hear someone mess up in a large band, now if it's one person, it's two people, you can pinpoint who messed up. That's fine. To the non-musical ear, you hear someone mess up drastically, they're not going to know who it is, and they're going to just assume the whole group messed up in some way.
That's a good point.
It doesn't sound very good. And I'm always, I am billing my guys as, super killer players and things like that. And you have, one monkey that runs the whole barrel in this regard. I was going to say one banana that runs the bunch, but I wanted to keep it more monkey than less monkey. Bananas still are, but, things like that. I will take that. Thank you. It was stupid and painful.
I wish I could hit it.
But you can try. Reach through the screen. Nice. That was good. That was really good.
I tried.
Yeah, thanks. It's embarrassing. It's honestly, embarrassing, where it's like, you could have just showed up and played. Would it really hurt you to come to a rehearsal for, 2.5 hours and play through X amount of songs?
Is
it
it's
really
also
going to kill you? Are you that into yourself? Are you that, that kind of a thing? It's like, just show up. It's only going to help. It's only going to help.
I find that it's very disrespectful. I mean, even to the rest of the band
course.
who's, spent time and, blood, sweat, and tears learning this stuff. But more so, I think, for you, like you said, your face is plastered all over it.
Because I'm fragile?
Yeah. Oh, yes. He's very sensitive.
I'm emotional.
Your name's everywhere, but you also wrote everything. You've taken the time. And, oh, my God, I can't even imagine the amount of time to write all this stuff. And then somebody...
Yes, Will. Keep telling me how great I am.
Well, folks, in these tough times, I really need a pay raise. So, let's just bear with me.
There you go.
But, I mean, it's like a slap in the face that somebody just comes and takes a dump right on your material.
Whoa, Will. I'm not trying to get pink eye over here. What, like...
Well,
Ew.
yeah, it comes with the territory. Just
But
close
you're
your
right.
mouth.
Correct. Anyway. Yeah. Cover your eyes. But no, it's frustrating to say the least, especially when it's not just me, but you have X amount of other guys relying on that person too, and they just decide to just be like, I don't feel like being there. I already know this stuff. I'm too good for this. And it is. It's always an ego thing, or it's the I'm a natural. Well, I'm a really good solo player. I can rip these solos. And it's like, yeah, but guess what? 90% of the song isn't your solo.
Right.
It's everyone working together as a group.
And we all know we're
And
going to
that's-
hear the lick.
Yeah.
All
Great,
the
perfect.
music nerds will know that one.
I just did that, and I'm going to take away every bell hit that I gave myself tonight because that physically hurt me to do that. But so really, when we're looking at this thing, whether it's someone being a natural, someone being an over practice, or someone being a weak link in a group, or refusing to come to practice as a group, or the group rehearsing as a whole, I mean, really the common thread that people need to realize it's practicing doesn't hurt anything.
No.
It really doesn't hurt. It's only going to make it better if you're doing it properly. And that's always such a weird term because there are still people I work with in a professional music setting who are always just like, well, there's a proper way and a correct way to practice. And that's very old school and outdated. I'm not a fan of that. And that's always the people where it's like, well, you're practicing wrong. And I'm like, that's like if you're telling someone you're painting wrong. I mean, unless you're just like drinking the paint, maybe that's a little wrong. But I don't know. I'm not an artist like that. But it's just that idea where it's like, oh, you have to sit up this way and have the metronome and this way and that way and do this and do that and do this. And it's like anytime you play, anytime you listen, anytime you're trying to focus on music or thinking about music or writing music or composing music or arranging music, you're practicing because you're doing the act of your craft. That's how it is with the language. It's always right now. I'm practicing the English language, speaking with you. Literally, what this whole thing is, and a couple fart jokes and a bell ring now and then.
Well, you got
That's exactly what it is.
You gotta have it.
You just, ladies and gentlemen, you just got it. You just got it.
Just gotta.
Okay?
I mean, and that going
gotta
off of
have
what you just said, it was like growing up and with instructors and that and professors and all that. I always heard practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect.
Ooh, mon chéri, I like that.
But
I know I've heard that too.
It's like, what's perfect practice?
That's very androgynous.
I don't know what it is. I just think I do think practice is essential. If someone can let me know, if somebody can let me know what perfect practice is, I'd really like to know what it is. But
I think it's perfect in the eye of the beholder.
Yes.
It's perfect in a sense where is it perfect for you? Because my whole thing is, I'm not a fan of the idea of perfect. Because you have so many. This is going to get oddly deep.
Whoa.
You have the idea of perfect where it's like obviously everything that lives on this planet is perfect for the fact that they exist. All the cells are lined up. Something went right and we are perfect. Whether you have a physical disability or anything like that, or something's not necessarily right, you're still perfect. Like there is an idea of perfect there because you exist, thus you are. Which is a crazy kind of thing. But the idea of perfect practice, I was never a person to believe in someone being a master of anything like that. Like I hated that notion. Like I always have students' parents be like, oh, wait till you're a master like Charles. And I always say, no, I am always the student. Because when you're a master, you've learned everything.
Impossible.
And at that point, there's no... Yeah, and then at that point, there's no reason to do what you do anymore because there's no rate of failure. There's no, chance that you might fail. And that's the whole rush that we do what we do. And practicing starts to take some of that idea of failure away and makes you more proficient in what you do. And it's not that, oh, this person's an incredible player. It's just they have a lower rate of failure or they have, things like that. And I always say you're only truly fail if you quit. Little mistakes and little hiccups, whatever.
Natural.
That's not really, it's natural. It's human. You're not really failing. But it's just that idea of practicing, I think, is just so important because whether you do this crazy, super proper way that they teach you in Juilliard, or you do it the way that I'll do it, where I'll sit down and play and sing for a little bit, and just the act of doing it, it's going to help regardless. Yes, it can get toxic if people are really, really on you, and they're like, well, you have to do it like this, and your posture, and your hand positioning, and this and that, and this and that. It's like, obviously, the little nitpicky things here and there, but it just
do it.
Just fucking play. Just do it, man. That's what it is. That's your practice. So to kind of, bounce back to Angela, who I hope you're still listening, dear. I really do. I do think practice regularly is very important, me personally. And whether it's, the same amount of time every single day. I mean, I never like to really do times because I realized, some of my younger students were like, I practice 20 minutes every day. And it's like, so what you do is you put a timer on your phone and you practice for a couple minutes, but really the entire practice, you're just looking at your phone, seeing if the timer ran out or not. You're not
focused.
Working on anything.
Yeah.
You're just waiting to be done. So I never do anything like that. I'll put my phone down or whatever, and I'll play, and I'll be like, oh, 2 hours have passed. I didn't know, because I'm done when I'm done. I'm not done when the time runs out. I'm done when I've completed. That's how band practice has always been. And we'd always have people be like, how many more times are we going to go through this? What time are we done tonight? And it's like, we're done when we're finished. I don't know why this is such a crazy development, but we're done when we are finished.
Yeah. It's always something.
That's
it's breaking
what it is.
News for them.
But I mean, I was gonna say in a closing kind of thing, William. What do you feel? I mean, would you build off of that? Would you build something completely new? Would you demolish that building of analogies and metaphors that I constructed and just take a piss on it? I don't know.
Full on demo. No, I agree with it. I'm gonna build upon it. I mean,
do it. Put a little addition on it. I like it.
Like I mentioned before, is trying to make it enjoyable and not make it seem like practicing. But like you said, it's a matter of just doing it. I mean, if you look at whoever's like in the top of their field today, you're gonna find the same thing with all of them. It's just that they do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It is just repetition. It's continuous. They're always doing it. And it's the same thing with music. It's not about, at least for drumming, it's not about, setting your metronome to 300 and seeing how many, paradiddles you can do. I mean, that's just...
How many can you do, William?
One.
Sounds like you can't do that many.
No. I'm not probably the last person to talk about rudiments, to be honest. But
that's...
But, I mean, it's just doing it. And like you mentioned, don't set a time on it. And I certainly don't. It's just whenever I feel like I want to play, I go sit down and I play. I don't make it, I'm not putting in, scheduling it in or saying, I try to get an hour. And, and like you said, it's just like 2 hours have gone by. Great. Or guess what? It's also just listening. It doesn't mean that I'm sitting behind the drums and I'm, pounding away. Some would argue that I would even argue that I think listening is just as important as playing. And even if it's you just going on YouTube down the rabbit hole, but if you're just listening to music, watching people play, listening to them play, that's practicing.
Well, listening is learning from the best. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah,
and that's
train
great.
your ears. Don't forget to train your ears. It's just as important as anything else. But it's just do it. Get the reps in.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Well, I think that was perfectly put there, man. I like that a lot. I mean, you and I both get what's going on with this. I'd like to think we're pretty hip to it.
We are hip.
And that is why... Yeah, and that's why we host a little thing called the Drop the Beat podcast, and I want to thank you guys so much for listening this week. That was a couple of them right there because I was really proud of that.
Such a great
segue.
question, by the way.
That was an awesome question. Thank you, Angela. We will be in touch with you, and we will be sending you a bomb-ass Mischief shirt. I think you're really, really going to like it. And if you don't, I apologize. Now you have a rag to wash your car with. But thank you guys again so much for listening this week. If you would like to support this podcast and just the Mischief overall and what we're doing, you can be one of our patrons on Patreon. You can find a link to that on the homepage of charleslaurita.com, where you can also find charleslaurita.com/contact, where you can submit a question for us to answer for the Drop the Beat podcast in a long form kind of style we just did today. I mean, I, on behalf of my better half, William, over on that side, I want to thank you guys so much for listening and beating off with us again this week, as you guys do with us every single week. It's a mutual beating at this point, and I really like that.
We
I
love
think
it.
people are digging it.
We love it.
We love it so much. It's great. But on that note, my name is Charles Laurita.
And I'm Will Sarver.
Oh, he is Will Sarver, whether he with or without those fly-ass glasses.
Oh, God.
We'll see you guys next week. Thank you.
See ya.